Hello everyone. Today I am present before you with my podcast on understanding the poem The Raven, written by Edgar Allan Poe, an American poet. The Raven is a ballad of 18 6-line stanzas with decidedly emphatic meter and rhymes. Narrated from the first person point of view, the poem conveys with dramatic immediacy the speaker's shift from weary, sorrowful composure to a state of nervous collapse as he recounts his strange experience with the mysterious ebony bird. The first 7 stanzas establish the setting and the narrator's melancholic, impressionable state of mind. Weak and worn out with grief, the speaker had sought distraction from his sorrow by reading curiously esoteric books. Awakened at midnight by a sound outside his chamber, he opens the door, expecting a visitor. He finds only darkness. Apprehensive, he whispers the name Lenore and closes the door. When the tapping persists, he opens a window, admitting a raven that perches upon a bust of Pallas. In stanza 8 to 11, the narrator, beguiled by the ludicrous image of the black bird in his room, playfully asks the raven its name, as if to reassure himself that it portends nothing ominous. He is startled, however, to hear the raven respond, saying nevermore. Although the word apparently has little relevance to any discoverable meaning, the narrator is sobered by the bird's forlorn utterance. He assumes that the raven's owner, having suffered unendurable disasters, taught the bird to imitate human speech in order to utter the one word most expressive of the owner's sense of hopelessness. In stanza 12 and 13, the narrator settles himself on a velvet cushion in front of the bird and whimsically ponders what the raven meant by repeating a word he inevitably associated with thoughts of the departed Lenore. At this point, the grieving lover, in anticipation of the raven's maddening repetition of nevermore, begins masochistically to frame increasingly painful questions. Imagining a perfumed presence in the room, the narrator, in a state of growing agitation, asks the raven whether God had mercifully sent him to induce her in the poet forgetfulness of lost Lenore. The inevitable response causes the narrator to plead with the raven, now addressed as a prophet of evil sent by the tempter, to tell him whether there is any healing in heaven for his grief. The raven's predictable answer provokes the grieving lover, now almost in a state of maddened frenzy, to ask bluntly whether his soul would ever be reunited with Lenore in heaven. Receiving the horrific nevermore in reply to his ultimate question, the distraught narrator demands that the raven, whether actual bird or fiend, leave his chambers and quit torturing his heart. The raven's unendurable answer drives the bereaved love into a state of maddened despair. The raven becomes a permanent fixture in the room, a symbolic presence presiding over the narrator's self-inflicted mental and spiritual collapse. The physical setting of the poem reflects the inner personality or emotion of the central character. The poem begins at midnight in December, the last moment of a spent day in the final month of the year. Internally and externally, it is a time of death and decay. Even the dying fireplace embers reflect the melancholic atmosphere. The setting is contained and claustrophobic. The single room adds to this effect. The narrator himself mirrors the time and locale. Weak and weary, he seems trapped in his richly furnished prison. He hopes for the morning, the return of light and life, but tonight all he can do is brood on his dead beloved, the lost Lenore, and feel the solid horror of his current situation. The story that now unfolds is simple, terrene, and tragic. The raven divides its characters and imagery into two conflicting worlds of light and darkness. The contrasting worlds of light and darkness grandly acquire additional symbolic resonances. They also represent life and death, the speaker's vain hope of an afterlife with Lenore, and the terrifying vision of eternal nothingness. The nightmarish effect of the poem is reinforced by the relentless trochaic rhythm and the arrangement of the ballad stanzas into 5 lines or octameter followed by a refrain in tetrameter. This combination, along with emphatic alliteration, allows for strong internal and end rhymes. This incantatory repetition creates an oral quality that helps force collaboration between the poem and the reader, a maddening regularity, aptly conveying the speaker's disintegrating reason while contributing to the theatrical effect of the poem as histrionic performance. I hope this podcast proves to be of help to each one of you. Thank you for your valuable time. Here's wishing you a good day.